Okay, so this has come a little later than expected, but there've just been so many good games to play in 2012. And it's great to see the 3DS pick up the pace compared to last year's slow start. So, much like last year's top 10, these are retail only games and my personal choices. So without further ado, here are my top 10 3DS games of 2012. Number 10. Mario & Sonic at the London 2012 Olympic Games. Much like its Wii counterpart, the 3DS version of Mario & Sonic 2012 is a collection of mini-games based around your favourite Olympic sports, like a 100-metre sprint, triple jump, and grabbing a bottle of water during a race. No, seriously, that is literally the minigame, grabbing a bottle of water. Odd minigame choices aside, Mario & Sonic 2012 on the 3DS is a more single-player focused game, as it has its own story mode, if that's what you can call it. I mean, the premise of the story is just bizarre. Bowser and Dr. Eggman plant fog machines all over London to prevent the Olympics from opening, and you're tasked with playing the Olympic-based minigames as Mario, Sonic and friends to save London. It makes absolutely no sense, but it's just so entertaining watching all of the Mario and Sonic characters interacting with each other. As a kid who grew up in the 90s with the whole Sega vs Nintendo, this really is a treat for my inner child. Overall, the game has great presentation, plenty of badges and medals to unlock for use in online leaderboards, and a stack of fun minigames. If you're already a fan of the series and haven't tried the 3DS version, I say it's worth a look. Number 9. Epic Mickey Power of Illusion. Unlike its console versions, Epic Mickey on the 3DS is a 2D side-scroller in the vein of the old 16-bit Disney games, more specifically Castle of Illusion for the Genesis and Mega Drive. Think of it like that, but with the painting ability of the Epic Mickey games. Only thing is that you're limited to just making preset boxes appear and disappear rather than having full interaction with the environment, which I will admit becomes tiresome tracing shapes and letters on the touchscreen for the umpteenth time. That aside, the game has a lovely hand-drawn 2D art style with some gorgeous backdrops taken straight from famous Disney film locales, as well as the joy of seeing all the different Disney characters from over the years interacting with each other. And then on top of that, Power of Illusion has some solid platforming that doesn't get hindered by a dodgy camera. Number 8. Kingdom Hearts 3D Dream Drop Distance. Okay, so it's not the proper third installment that fans of the series want, but it's as close as you're going to get, at least for now. KH3D uses the tried and true formula playing as an action RPG jumping from one Disney world to the next, like the Hunchback of Notre Dame or even Tron. The story can be very hard to follow at times, or pretty much impossible for anyone new to the series, but much like Epic Mickey, there's a certain charm to seeing all of your favourite Disney characters in one game, even if you have no clue as to what's going on. One of the main additions for Dream Drop Distance is the drop ability, where you can switch between both Sora and Riku in alternate worlds. It can break the flow of the game up somewhat, but it can be equally satisfying returning to one character when you are just about to take out a boss. This definitely adds a new dimension. Number 7. New Super Mario Bros. 2. So we received not one but two games in the New Super Mario Bros. Sub-series in 2012. One for the Wii U in its launch and another for the 3DS a few months back. One of the common complaints both games got was that there wasn't much new about them. New Super Mario Bros. 2 still starts off with Peach getting kidnapped by Bowser again, traversing the 8 worlds as Mario or Luigi to get her back. It's beyond formulaic now, but it's still just so darn fun to play. And what is new is actually pretty interesting, as the whole game is based around gold coins. Hit a switch, turn blocks into gold. Hit a ring, turn enemies into gold. Get a gold fire flower and turn everything into gold. Even though the ultimate goal to collect 1,000,000 coins does feel tacked on, the emphasis on just loads of coins is very satisfying to collect every one you see. Basically, if you've ever had fun with a Mario platformer before and don't expect anything groundbreaking, then you could do far worse than NSMV2. Number 6. Professor Layton and the Miracle Mask. The 5th Layton game in this series and the 2nd in the new trilogy, this new entry sees the biggest shake-up so far in terms of presentation. It still has the wonderful 2D animated cutscenes, but the core gameplay has been given a 3D facelift for the 3DS. On one hand, the 3D environments look great and really bring Layton's world to life, but the character models have been fully rendered in 3D models, which wouldn't be too bad if it wasn't for how jarring they look when they transition to and from the 2D cutscenes. They will grow on you after the first couple of hours of play, but I couldn't help but notice it throughout. The actual story itself sees the Professor, his apprentice Luke and his assistant Emmy travel to a city terrorised by a mysterious man known as the Masked Gentleman. This develops to become a much more personal story for Layton, which also jumps back and forth to when the Professor was a teenager. It's up there as one of the best in the series, but it doesn't do anything new enough to interest anyone who wasn't a fan before. Number 5. Paper Mario Sticker Star. Now, I'm a massive fan of the Paper Mario series, and I was dead excited to see what Intelligent Systems would do on the 3DS, seeing as how they've taken it back to its RPG roots. The battle system's mechanics work in much the same way as the first two with its turn-based combat, only thing is that the battles play out very differently thanks to Sticker Star's sticker system. Instead of battling enemies to earn XP and level up, you now use stickers found throughout the world as items and attacks. For me personally, this is both a good and a bad thing, as it nicely adds a layer of strategy to every battle, but on the flip side, without earning experience points, it makes the encounters feel pointless and you end up just avoiding a lot of the fights. Luckily, this doesn't feel entirely out of place for an RPG, as it has a more traditional Mario vibe with a Mario 3-esque overworld, which gives you more freedom to explore the worlds as you see fit. Don't get me wrong, just because of the simpler RPG mechanics, this does not mean it's an easy game. Far from it, because Sticker Star can be brutal at times. But this is still full of the typical Paper Mario charm and a great entry into an already brilliant series. Number 4. Theatrhythm Final Fantasy. I just want to start off by saying if anyone has enjoyed a Final Fantasy game before, then you need to play Theatrhythm. It's essentially a rhythm game where you tap and slide to the beat of classic Final Fantasy tunes, but with an RPG twist. You pick a party of 4 from a back catalogue of classic main characters from the series past. You can then level up each character individually the more you perform well in a song, as well as giving them each spells and upgrades that you find on your journey. Each level is divided up by each main Final Fantasy entry, starting with the first on NES up until 13, with each game split into 3 sections: field, battle and event. This truly is a love letter to any fan of Final Fantasy, but at the same time it's equally enjoyable for anyone into rhythm games and have no knowledge of the series, or just anyone who enjoys good music. Number 3. Pokemon Black and White 2. Okay, so it's a DS game, but it came out in 2012 and you can play it on your 3DS, so it counts. Marking the first time the Pokemon main series of games has had a true sequel, Black and White 2 are set 2 years after the 2011 originals. Whilst the premise still starts off the same way, it's interesting to see how the world of Unova has changed since your last visit. Sure, not much has changed in terms of gameplay, but when a formula works this well, it's easy to see why Game Freak just builds on an already solid foundation. Oh, and you can encounter all the old Pokemon from the start this time, which is a nice touch. And besides, it's a great way to pass the time whilst you wait for the eagerly anticipated Pokemon X and Y. Number 2. Kid Icarus Uprising. While it's been long overdue, but the Kid Icarus series finally returns with Uprising on the 3DS, and oh my, was it worth the wait. Medusa's back and it's up to the Angel Boy Pit to stop her, which is great seeing the characters being self-aware of their 25-year absence. The gameplay itself is split up into 2 main sections, land and air. The air sections typically start each level and play much like a cross between Star Fox 64 and Sin and Punishment. These are fast-paced action stages and are the definite highlights of the game and the 3D effects in general. Land sections are equally entertaining but at a slightly slower pace, playing more like Star Fox Assault's land missions. The biggest complaint I hear are the cumbersome controls, and whilst they're not the most intuitive, they really don't take long to get used to. Outside of blasting eggplants, the main meat of Kid Icarus Uprising is in its deep weapon customization and seemingly endless unlockables. Add on top a fairly robust online multiplayer and you have one of the best value for money games to ever grace a handheld. And number 1. Resident Evil Revelations. Now, I had a hard time picking the top spot, but ultimately chose Revelations because the game just feels so damn polished. It brings back the classic Resi atmosphere of old while still keeping the tight control scheme of the newer entries. The story still has its cheesy moments that we've come to expect from the series, but it's generally interesting and had me invested from start to finish. Graphically, it's still the best the 3DS offers, with some impressive lighting that goes hand in hand with the fantastic sound design. Not only is this one of the best single player experiences on the 3DS, but it's also one of the best for multiplayer too, thanks to the brilliant raid mode that puts the cherry on top of the already delicious cake. With the recent disappointment of Resident Evil 6, Revelations is proof that the series still has got legs and Capcom still know how to create a great Resident Evil game. So 2012 came and went, and overall I have to say it was a pretty successful year for 3DS. Sales went up and we saw a slew of great exclusives come to Nintendo's new handheld, and 2013 looks to only continue the rise, with Luigi's Mansion, Animal Crossing and of course the new Pokemon games. But before we move forward, what about the previous year for the 3DS's competitor? Tune in next time for the top games of 2012 for the PlayStation Vita.